but he did end up calling it a matter. He said, "We opened a matter." Joining us right now, former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas, now partner at Avenue Strategies, Bud Cummins is with us. Bud, it's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And get your important analysis here. You and James Comey served as U.S. attorneys together, and he later became your direct supervisor. So we want to get from you your reaction on a personal level as well. What did you think of yesterday?
Well, I'm a Jim Comey fan. I admire his career and his abilities, but I think that yesterday the most important testimony was about Loretta Lynch and about her interference and an attempt to manipulate the way he handled that investigation. I think that was the nucleus of this entire controversy. Her decision to meet on the tarmac, her failure to recuse afterwards, and then her attempts to manipulate his messaging led to him trying to solve a problem that wasn't his problem. And I think when he made the decision to take on her role and make the announcement about the prosecution decision, he stepped into something he's never been able to get out of.
So he becomes the judge, the jury, and the executor in 3 seconds.
Yeah, he was eminently qualified to make prosecutorial decisions. He'd been a prosecutor, but that wasn't the job he had that day, and it wasn't his responsibility to fix her problem, but he tried to. And I think he's never gotten out of that. And he lost credibility with the Democrats, with the Republicans, and that was going to be an ongoing problem.
But he does the same thing again with the president here now, where he receives a directive that he thinks is inappropriate, and rather than taking the steps that he knows he should take that are prescribed, he decides to take matters into his own hands, to write the memos, to not inform his supervisors, and then to leak those later. There's a pattern here of making the wrong decision when the right decision is absolutely necessary. Is that not right?
I think he has a responsibility to firewall off if he feels like, and this is not the first White House that ever tried to reach over the line and maybe dabble in business that they need to stay out of on the political side. His job is to stiff-arm that, firewall it off, and do it in a pretty frank way. And that's caused, I think, if you look back in the history of presidents and attorney generals, some friction between them, because the good attorney generals, John Ashcroft, you know, he's going to do that. And similarly, the Deputy Attorney General, the FBI Director, have the same responsibility. No. He didn't really do it definitively, and I think it's led to these problems.
Well, knowing Jim Comey back in 2004, you know, he drafted a letter of resignation to, as acting Attorney General, to basically threaten President Bush over wiretapping. But he never took that step.
Right.
With Loretta Lynch, and he never took that step with, you know, Jeff Sessions being the AG, but in his dealings with President Trump, particularly after President Trump told him, "I hope you can let this go." Why would he do that, knowing him? Like, why take such a more dramatic action with in one instance, but not with Lynch and not with President Trump?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I think you're right that the thing to do is, if you see a matter of principle and you've sent the message that I think there's a matter of principle here and we need to stop this conversation or whatever, and it doesn't stop, I think you're obligated to offer your resignation, and you do it, again, you do it in kind of a bright line way and not with all this.
Do you think he compromised the integrity of the FBI by commenting on an ongoing investigation? It was an unprecedented act, and so he actually has created this snowball effect that has happened, and that's why we're still stuck on this whole Loretta Lynch situation. He should have just never said anything because the FBI hadn't done that before.
Are you back with the email investigation?
Yes.
I think that's right. I think that by entering that debate, he lost credibility with certain factions around Congress, you know, both parties. You go back just a few months and you're going to find Democrats criticizing, you're going to find Republicans, and once the FBI director's neutrality or credibility is brought into question, it might be time to bring in somebody that doesn't have that baggage. Chris Wray, great pick, so, he doesn't have it.
So he leaks classified information to a professor with an understanding that that person is going to leak it to the New York Times. He tells us that Loretta Lynch asked him to call it a matter and not an investigation. Was yesterday a win for President Trump?
I believe in all the important points it is. I mean, we learned that almost beyond reasonable debate, he didn't obstruct justice. We learned he wasn't under criminal investigation. I think it was a win, and I think, again, it's not being reported in the papers I'm reading in the green room enough, but the real important thing was this all started with a failure of the Attorney General in the last administration to do her job properly. everyone else is kind of a victim of that, including if President Trump lost confidence in Jim Comey. He's just one of many that apparently lost confidence in Jim Comey because Jim tried to fix this problem that Loretta Lynch created.
So Loretta Lynch should have said, no, Bill Clinton, I can't meet you, given the fact that we are interviewing your wife in 2 days.
She should have done that, or she should have recused after she met with him. If she felt like after a meeting that she didn't see the problem on the front end, she should have said, I'm now recused from this matter. But she just tried to live in the middle, and then Comey tried to fix it for her.
Are you surprised that the spying and the unmasking did not come up? I mean,
Yes.
we're talking about unmasking by Susan Rice, actual criminality, and no one's talking about that.
I am surprised, but, you know, Congress, they love the simple story. They love the drama. These senators are not going to let this rest. They're going to keep milking it as long as they can. We've seen this many times before. In the meantime, North Korea has tested a missile yesterday. You know, we need to build bridges and highways. We need tax reform and deregulation. And, you know, frankly, this is kind of a D.C. story. Out in Arkansas, they're still talking about tax reform and deregulation.
And we're asking the question, where the hell is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. I mean, it's obviously been a distraction, but does it obstruct the agenda? That's what we want to. We really want to know. I mean, it's obviously been a distraction. Will they still be able to execute the agenda this year?
You know, we hope so. You hear members of Congress talking behind the scenes that there is work going on,
Right.
but there's expectations. I mean, this was a big election.
Yeah.
Our country is very polarized, and there's some big expectations, and I think they need to perform.
Bud, really
and the
great,
president too.
Really great analysis. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Bud Cummins there.